All right, we're recording to the cloud. Let's see how this works for us. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Kevin McNicholas here, school social worker in the Gillespie School Districts. Have two very special guests this time. Nate Blazo was not able to join us today. He had a conflict, so we've rescheduled him for August. So happy to welcome my longtime friends and colleagues, Jen Lubrant and Chaz Swearingen. Chaz, one of our OGs with family, I was going to say Family First. Jen, you're the OG of Family First. Chaz, one of our OGs of mental health first responders, one of our founders. So I'm happy to have both of you here today. And Kristen, Megan, Carmen, and Lucas, welcome. Going to record this for everyone who's not able to make it today. Jen, I will turn it over to you because you got your presentation, and take it away.
All right, so there's not very many of us, so I will not drag it on as long as I possibly can. And I've never shared a screen before, so I'm going to attempt this.
And I do have to say thank you both for stepping in at literally a moment's notice. Appreciate you both.
Oh, no problem. I had this already set up for something else, so it worked out great.
I can always
Okay. What can you guys see?
Gillespie CUSD7 Birth 3 Family First Program Review.
You can see the PowerPoint then?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay. View it. Nope, that is not the right button.
I think if you go up the top there, the slideshow.
Yeah, where's that button at?
Keep going to the right. You were on it. Go down a little bit and then right. There. Oh, right underneath.
Oh, I see it. That's why I'm having trouble.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
Right? Isn't that it?
Yeah, it's that little one just to the left of where it says board presentation.
There we go.
Yeah, yep.
There we go. There we go. Oh,
mine's different. I'll need help.
We got a couple more people coming in. I think Liz came in and Paula Del Canton.
Right on.
And then where do I go to see if people are coming in so I don't ignore anybody? Okay. All right. All right. So we are Gillespie's school district's Birth to 3 program, Family First. Our mission statement is to positively impact child development in the critical early years by educating, inspiring, and empowering all families. This is our 7th year in the program. So when we developed the program 6 to 7 years ago, we all felt strongly that the early critical years matter and are crucial in the first 3 years of a child's life. But now that we have been doing this, we are able to see that impact and we've had on our families, and we feel that our program positively shapes the family's perspective upon their child entering schools, and it strengthens the family's relationship within the community. So our big primary goal is to get the family comfortable with our school before actually having to come to school. So, I don't know, how do I? There we go. This is slide 2. So we are, like I said, we are a home visiting program. We work with anywhere from prenatal to age 3. We do home visits, play groups. We do milestone checks and screenings throughout the way. And then if we do feel like there is some sort of delay, we refer that on to early intervention services. So speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, depending on where the delay is at. We do 2 play groups every month, and that's probably our favorite part of the entire program is that, so we do one family night where we always provide dinner, and then we do a morning play group that's a little more craft friendly, and but we do offer morning and evening because we want to be able to include all families, even the ones that are working Monday through Friday day hours. So our night play groups does give them that opportunity. We're able to help, families with formula, clothing, diaper donations. We're always promoting pre-K. We help them with that transition. And then we're always giving out books. We are very book happy. So we actually do fill 39 slots every year for our program, and we are supposed to make a waiting list, but me and the two other girls, we don't have a heart to tell anybody no. And if they're interested in the program, we're going to let them enroll and just stack our caseloads up. We did do 768 home visits last year between the three of us. It is me and two other girls that do the program. And the other favorite thing about our program is we do not have an income cap. Oh, sorry, one second. We do not have an income cap. So if you're the families that make too much money automatically think that they're not eligible for our program, because most of the other area birth to 3 programs do have that income cap. But we are able to allow all families to participate. And I kind of look at it as like I have a 2-year-old at home, and just because my husband and I both work and we are a 2-income family does not mean that my child doesn't have delays or that I don't need support as a mom or my husband support as a dad. So we really like the fact that we do not have an income cap. We collaborate with several people in the area, and this is probably not even the complete list, but we try to get our hands in to all the resources into the community. That way, when our family does need a referral, it's easy for us to make that link for them. All right, this is the good stuff. Okay, so this is actually who we chose to spotlight at our family. This is Gino, or I'm sorry, at our last presentation. This is Gino and his son DJ, and we wanted to highlight this family because Gino's truly used the program for how it is intended. Share a little of his story. He's single. He's a very young father. He reached out to us about joining our program, and he had just gained custody of his son from the mother who's unfortunately battling substance abuse. He was assigned to Jackie's caseload, one of our other home visitors, and Jackie went to the home to complete their first home visit and was absolutely amazed by the strength in the family. Gino's brother and brother's girlfriend also joined the visit. They explained how all 3 of them were working together to raise DJ. So very supportive family. And during the visits, Jackie could really see the dad wanting to ensure that his son's developmental needs were being met. He wanted positive interactions with his son, and he wanted guidance on all of this. And that's something we really focus on during our home visits, is facilitating that parent-child interaction. And sometimes our families think we come in as the teacher to the kid, and really, like, parents are the first teacher, and we're really wanting to focus on that bond. So as time went on with the participation in the program, we were able to see Gino, the dad, grow as a parent. He became confident in himself to provide DJ all these positive interactions and ensuring his needs are being met. He eventually relied less on other family members, and he gained confidence to parent on his own. And they were wonderful to have in the program and to watch grow. And then we also provide every family with an activity bag each month, and each bag, has a cooking activity, because we really like to see, kiddos in the kitchen with their parents, working together, interacting, getting those skills from developing, like, fine motor from stirring and things like that. So we have the cooking activity, we have a fine motor activity, we have a gross motor activity, cognitive activity. We try to make it fun. So these are just pictures from our activity bag activity. They're probably our favorite. We started those during COVID, and once COVID was over and we were allowed to go back into the homes again, we couldn't stop doing them because we had so much fun making them, and each bag has its own theme. And so then we had family night with Santa. We always have Santa come in, and Jackie's husband John is always very kind and dresses up as Santa for us. So this was from our Santa night, and that's always one of our bigger nights that we have throughout the year. This is the night we'll probably never do again because it was incredible amount of work, and it sounded really easy, but it was so much work. We collected tons and tons of boxes, and then we had to throw away and get rid of tons and tons of boxes. So much fun. We've done it twice now. The first year we didn't have nearly this amount of boxes, but this is one. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Jackie. I have to admit, I knew I wouldn't see it. There you go. Are you in now? Jackie's joining us. All right. This little picture on the bottom left is probably my favorite one. I stared at that all the time and just got such a giggle out of it. She was so happy just to be playing with empty boxes. And that's something else we try to teach our parents is, you don't have to go out and buy the fancy toys. Whatever you have in your home is going to work and help them develop the skill. You don't have to have special stackers. You can go and get green bean cans and stack those, or, Tupperware containers and stack those, and, get Cheerios in an old spaghetti sauce jar and fill them up, dump them out, fill them up, dump them out. It doesn't have to be the fancy stuff from the store. It could just be a bunch of trash. And this is another one of our favorite nights we do. We do the fire safety and family night where we get the fire truck to come out, and the kids got to spray the hose this year, and that was a lot of fun. But we try to make it fun while being a little educational at the same time. It's kind of a fun line to cross. And then these two ladies are our the home visitors that work with me. This is Liz and this is Jackie. And without them, I could not do what I do. So I appreciate all their hard work, and they did a lot with groups and a lot with the activity bag planning, and keeps things going for us. So nice and simple and sweet. But moral of that presentation is, if you do have any babies out there you're working with, or teen parents that you're working with, please refer them our way. I can send out a flyer, our program flyer, and as long as they're not enrolled in another Birth to 3 program, we can enroll them in ours. So Healthy Families is through the health department. They normally nab up all the low-income first-time moms. And then there's also Illinois Valley that has a Birth to 3 program. And they also have an income cap. So anybody with like a higher income that wouldn't qualify for other programs and they've got a baby, please send them our way.
Jen, thank you so much. And I will say, I know on here too, and I will say this to you, and I know I've said it before. The three of you and the program you have built is second to none. And I have been in many districts and I consult with many districts. There is not another program that runs quite like ours, and it's absolutely fantastic. The resources that all three of you have, because of everyone you write with, but also the resources that you are to us. I always know the children coming into pre your program. They are better prepared. Their social interaction skills are better. They're more kind. I can absolutely tell who those kids are, and they make their and DJ the adults. And oh, did I freeze?
Sorry, you're freezing a little.
Unfortunately. Oh goodness.
We appreciate your kind words. That was, and just going into the transition for preschool alone was our big goal whenever this was all created. So we love to hear that.
And I think it's a perfect example of the right people in the right program too. I mean, you obviously have a passion for it, and you enjoy your work, and that shows.
And it's nice. We all three kind of come from different backgrounds, so we're all able to pull our knowledge and put it together and see different perspectives. So it's worked out very well.
Fabulous. Much appreciated, Jen and Jackie and Liz. And they are housed here in Gillespie, but I cannot think of folks who are. So by all means, reach out to them, whether through me or through their direct contact. I'll put your emails in the chats. If there's a resource that I don't know about, this next gentleman, if we don't, he does. So Chaz, I'm going to make.
Hey Kevin, remove me from host, because I will definitely not pay attention to people wanting to come in.
Jen, I think you have to go to the three little dots next to the mute. The box next to my name, just click on those three dots and Jen, if you will make me host again, I think if you the little box right next to mute,
Did you already
you
tell
hit
me
those
that
three
and I
little
wasn't paying attention? I'm so
Not
sorry.
three there. It should, yeah, you should be able to make me host again.
Am I on the right path? Where are you telling me to go?
Has my camera on it or my video on it.
Where
Go
would
to
I?
those three. Oh,
Stop share. There's that
There you
part.
go.
Okay, there's that part. And now do I have to make you host? Is that what you're saying? Oh, on your picture. Okay, okay. There. Got it. Yes, I do, because I'm not not in charge. Not doing well. Okay. Did that work for you?
let's see. We just froze up again, but let's see. Yep, there we go. Got it. Thanks, Jen. Chaz, you want me to make you the host then, and you can take it away?
Co-host, whatever.
Fantastic. I have to go change settings because I never have the opportunity to give people the co-host thing. So I got to go into settings. All right, you should be the host now, my friend. Take it away.
Yeah, I never mess too much around in Zoom once I'm in Zoom, so
I'm gonna need to work on that. All right, Chaz, you should be good to go.
All right. Do you guys see mine now? Wow, I've got an overlay. Where do I? Are you guys seeing my notes and everything too, or just the outline?
Seeing, I can see if you go to full screen on that, I think you're good.
Where do I go?
If you start slideshow, I mean, as I was gonna say, I can see your.
is
like
your
the power-
slideshow button hidden again?
Yeah.
There you go. I told you.
Where is it?
Click on home and maybe that'll.
I'll say, is it underneath your
Oh, there we go.
the host
Yep,
button?
it was
There
underneath
you
the
go.
Zoom.
Ah, perfect.
That's where I was struggling too.
All right. Okay. Chaz Swearingen from Lincoln Prairie Behavioral Health Center in Springfield, Illinois. There's a picture of our building. For some of you, this will be the first time you've actually seen pictures of the facility. So again, what is Lincoln Prairie? We are an inpatient psychiatric facility for kids age 3 to 17 officially. Right now, we are concentrated really on the tweens and adolescents because that's where the need is the most. And when you have a hospital, to have any kind of unit, you have to have provider, doctors, nurses, techs, and variety of other support staff for every unit you do. So what we have right now is we have a plethora of kids, teens and preteens. And while we may get a 6 or 7-year-old call, once or twice a week, we may get 20 or 30, 13-year-old calls. So we right now have most of our focus on those kids. Let's see. Our mission statement is to promote healing of children and their families through compassionate and supportive care. And I tell this story quite a bit when I'm talking about why I came to Lincoln Prairie. I was doing a tour up there because at the time I was working for Locust Street, and we were referring to them, and I wanted to see, where are we sending these kids, And so I got up there and I was walking through on the second floor before we'd even gotten up to the units, and the kids were transitioning. I think maybe they were going to the cafeteria or they were going to a different room. So there was an age group going down the hallway. And as they went down the hallway, there was a maintenance guy who was had his cart there, and he had stopped, and he had his hand up, and he just high-fived the kids as they walked past. And this is a guy that's not involved in their programming at all. He's not clinical. He's not doing anything, but he still kind of went out of his way to make the kids feel warm and welcome. So that, I feel like, is a really good example of the kind of environment that you have there. Besides inpatient, right now what we offer is an intensive outpatient program, collaboration or sponsorship for events, community in-person trainings, and monthly virtual CEU events. Intensive outpatient program currently is in the afternoon from 12 to 4. It's 5 days a week. And in the past, we had a day program where the kid would come up and be with us all day and then go home at night. And so they'd program, they'd stay for lunch, they'd get some other sort of therapies, and they'd have time, like a playtime and a snack time and stuff like that. The problem with that is when you have kids who have either already been in the hospital and this is their transition out of it, or this is being utilized to prevent the kid from having to come into inpatient, they're already typically behind academically. And if they go to us and they go through the day program for another 2 or 3 weeks, that's another 2 or 3 weeks where they are not getting normal school time. So we now offer just the half days, and we don't offer lunch or snacks or those type of things, because it's all programming for 4 hours. That's what they get. And they get a little break time in there too, but they get that. They get the ability to see, regularly nurses, their provider, that kind of thing. But there's not, I guess, that extra stuff. And I think it's worked out well because those kids can go to school in the morning and do their normal school routine and then come to us in the afternoon. And it is on site. There is no virtual programming at this time. However, we are kind of pursuing some avenues where we can add that again, because I think that's really an important program or service that we can offer. So how do you make a referral? I don't know. I think most of us on here are probably pretty familiar with how to make a referral to an inpatient facility. Generally, it's a CARES call or call to your local crisis mobile response unit. In the last year or two, there have been changes where it used to be pretty, the funnel used to be pretty small and tight. Now there are a variety, depending on where you are, there's a variety of different resources you might engage in order to get to a place like Lincoln Prairie. But in general, if you want to make a referral, you can always call us. If you don't know what to do, call us. We're going to tell you what you need to do in order to get care for that kid. So you can call us to that number there. We have master's level therapists and RNs in the A&R department, and they always consult with an admitting psychiatrist that's on staff to make the determination on to accept the kid. Obviously, we're working with kids who are in crisis, so we're never closed. We don't, have holidays at all. People just work different shifts, and we make sure we get it all covered. Typical reasons for admitting to Lincoln Prairie or another inpatient facility. There's a lot of different diagnoses or reasons. Typically, it is evidence to behavior, especially with the younger kids. But in general, these are some of the ones we see a lot of: depressive disorder, behavior, anxiety, pediatric and emotional or behavioral disorders, psychotic disorders, developmental disorder, or physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. All of those are major reasons why a kid would come to us. They're not all, that's not the entire exhaustive list, but that is some of the most common ones. So this is what a room looks like on the unit. That's what the bed made, which I don't think I've ever seen. But when I was doing an inpatient uh, set for was it last year or the year before? Yeah, I had kids who would be in bed quite a bit. And typically, from what I saw, these were kids who were a little older who would come in, and you know, a room like this, neat, orderly, maybe quiet, with there's not a lot of extra there, but there's all the necessities. That's not normal for a lot of these kids. And so when they come into our facility, they have this, and they have regular meals, and they have regular attention, and they have peers around them, and they have, you know, uh, techs and nurses and other people who are, therapists who are around and trying to talk to them and help with them. That's a lot. Even though it's good stuff, it's challenging for them. And I had one older teen that I was assigned to, and I think he slept pretty much for the first 2 days. It's not necessarily depressing, but when you get out of your element and you're no longer on guard, 24/7, and you don't understand living in a situation like this, it can be overwhelming, and it also can be maybe the first time you've been able to kind of let down in, months or even longer. So it's good that they have these nice, orderly, clean areas. They also have a gym with obviously staff is on site and helps to organize some games, let them do some free play, let them kind of work out a lot of their energy, because being somewhere, kids are with us from 7 to 10 days, being somewhere that long, they're going to need to exercise. And so we've got this indoor gym. We have, in the last few years, really tried to make our areas feel more like home. And so we have kids up to 17, but we also have younger kids. An 8-year-old and a 17-year-old aren't going to necessarily share all of the same things, but Mario is a good one to bring all the kids together. And so there was actually a young man who had been through Lincoln Prairie, who came and painted this mural for us. And then we did another one, and we allowed the kids to do a campaign to name the cafeteria. And so it's called Link's Cafe. So there's a picture of Legend of Zelda characters, and just, something other than the boring walls. This is an outdoor area for the younger kids that obviously it's monitored too, but we want kids to get outside whenever they can and have some time outside to play and, be kids, because that's something they may not get to do very often. Another shot of that. And then this is a schedule. And it's not necessarily like this exactly right now. But this is an example of the type of structure that they get. And most of these are group activities. So there's a set time to eat. There's a set time for wake ups and showers. There's a set time for community groups and doing laundry and doing different things. There's movie nights, there's special things. And when there are holidays, for instance, we try to take special care for our kids to kind of let them celebrate, let them kind of enjoy some of those special things when they're in there with us. Over Christmas, we don't get a lot of kids in there, but the ones that we do, some of them have been in there a long time. We occasionally get children who are with us for months instead of, a week and a half. And these are typically children who are youth in care with the system, and they don't have placement. So they kind of get stuck with us. And when you're a kid who's in a hospital and you're seeing people come and go, and you're doing the same week of stuff over and over and over again, it's not healthy. We try to do as much focus with them as possible. And what a lot of what happens is around Christmas time, the staff go through and they do shopping for the kids and they get things, and so that the kids can enjoy, you know, some presents and some special meals and things like that. So very structured, as I said, therapeutic enhancements, recreational therapy. It's not we don't have a recreational therapist necessarily, but we have music therapy. I think our pet therapy is suspended at this time, but we do have a variety of different therapies that come through. Music therapy is always a big hit. And we use a lot of different techniques to handle defiance or refusal to participate. But in the end, you know, kids doesn't have to participate. And that's when their stay can be a little longer. Is like that kid I was talking about, the older one who came in. If he takes 2-3 days to start interacting and joining groups and participating, then he's not going to really start his recovery until that time. And so the doctor will make the judgment call and say, yeah, he's always in bed, he's not participating, he doesn't talk, so we haven't really done anything for him, so they may be with us for 2 weeks. One of the questions we get a lot from educators, and I know that it's been a point of contention through pretty much anybody who's ever at schools I've ever talked to, is, you know, the school there, you know, it seems like it's difficult to get homework back or send homework or that kind of thing. We're actually working right now on revamping that whole thing. We have a new school administrator in there. They get 1 hour a day, and you know, that's not if every kid could learn, you know, their whole thing in 1 hour, then, you know, the schools wouldn't be open very often. So different subject each day. We try to get packets from schools, and if they have those packets, they work on them. If not, we will give them something to work on. Unfortunately, there's no personal Chromebooks or laptops allowed, but we are working on having electronics in the classroom now so that we can utilize the various, you know, logons for the schools, because that's easy. Then they say, hey, this is stuff that's assigned to you. And as I said before, the hospital curriculum is available and it's pretty general, but our goal is not really to teach. Our goal is to keep them at least in the mindset that, hey, you're going to be coming back to school at some point, and you need to be at least considering and thinking about, this is where you're, you know, going to be going. We're going to be returning. You know, our focus is on treatment and stabilizing them. Discharge process. This is another thing that I feel like this is one of the most difficult pieces of the whole process. We go through utilization review, and I guess we really need to be trained on how to say that word. It starts from day one. And when I was doing my inpatient stint, you do certain scales and certain evaluations within, some of them have to be within 24 hours, others within 48 hours, etc. And at that point, you start planning for discharge. You start, you know, mapping out the things that they need to accomplish before they can be discharged. They have to, you know, rate a certain level of, you know, for non-suicide. They have to have participated in this much. They have to have a, you know, family sessions. You have to talk to the parent or guardian, all those kind of things. We start planning for that the whole stay. And then there's always a safety plan. There's like, what will you do? Who will you talk to? How will you accomplish something if you start feeling like you did before you came into the facility? Because our job at Lincoln Prairie is not to fix the kid. And I wish I could tell that to every parent who's ever referred a child to us. If we could fix these kids in 7 to 10 days, I mean, we'd be the most successful organization in the world. The only thing that we're doing is, and I say this is, it sounds kind of crass, but we keep them from killing themselves. We try to maybe get them to the point where they don't want to kill themselves. And then along with this discharge paperwork here, it kind of covers, if they do start to feel that way again, what are they going to do? Are they going to use a skill, a coping mechanism, or a skill that they've learned with us? Let's hope they will, but let's face it, in 7 to 10 days, it's harder to develop a skill. That's something you've got to work on, work on, and work on, and work on, 100 hours or whatever it says before you're good at it. And then you have to be able to utilize those coping skills in times of stress and trauma. You can't, I mean, it's fine. I can do deep breathing right now, right? No problem. But when somebody's yelling or this is happening or I'm driving my car or whatever, I can't necessarily do that. So, we try to help them to at least identify some things that might work and try to get them to realize that they need to work on that outside of our facility, because it comes down to their environment and their other influences once they're out of the hospital. And if things outside of the hospital do not change, it's likely that they will not improve. So while our aftercare and our processes are all focused on trying to get them to a certain point, it's really after they're discharged that the real work begins. These are our leaders, and it's a little outdated, but our CEO, Jim Flynn, his last day is tomorrow. So he has retired, actually. And Jim was great for us. Tom DeMarco, assistant administrator, he's been my direct report. I can't say enough nice about him. Dr. Nepal is amazing. And Jason Dennis, our director of nursing, has really, he worked his way up from tech. He's been with the organization a long, long time. And he has, he was, born and raised in Lincoln Prairie kind of thing. So he's helped a lot. The marketing contacts this is my team. So Northwest, we have Jill. Northeast, we have Divya. Southern is Jess. And then I'm Southwest, which I am now taking Springfield, south to Alton, over to Quincy, over to Pana. So I kind of think of it as like the middle swath of Illinois. And maybe more to come. So if you're interested in touring the facility, get a hold of me. I really think this is a valuable thing. I think that it changes your mind if you're referring to us, if you are trying to describe this to parents, especially if you're if you're involved in a crisis situation. It's so much better if you can say, hey, I've been here, I've been there. I walked the halls. And I mean, we're going to take you in and we're going to take you through and you're going to see the kids. And we're not going to have, like 10 kids that we dress up and make look nice and have them sit on, special chairs for you when you walk in. It might be, part of it might be closed off. We might have a kid who's yelling and screaming. We might have a couple techs and a therapist sitting down with a kid in the hallway because they're in crisis. They just talk to their mom and something has come up and blah, 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 blah. It's valuable. And if you would like to do it, we typically take smaller groups through. So, I wouldn't say, hey, bring your organization and bring, 20 people in your organization. It's usually a handful of people because it is a locked psychiatric facility. But if you want to do that, get a hold of me. I highly, encourage you to do that. So that is the end. I'm going to stop my sharing. Are there any questions, thoughts?
Hey, I really, really like the fact that you had former patients do the artwork. Not only am I a nerd and love the choice of artwork, but the fact that you had like former patients and clients do that, I think is very, very neat. We're gonna try to do that with one of our play groups. We have a family that she makes her own candles and sells them, so she's gonna come in and do like a candle pouring class for our parents. But I do think that's super powerful for the other kiddos to see that, hey, another kid like me did that and they allowed it. And so I really do like that.
Thanks. Yeah, I do too. I mean, it gives us there are other times I wish that we could involve some of our former patients in ways, maybe have them be mentors or have them be involved after discharge. Here are 5 people you can call to talk about, but that, those kind of situations can be difficult to manage. So I do like that we at least involve them for that kind of thing. And we can talk about that. And the fact that one would even want to do that is, I think, a good thing.
And the subject is, you're right, definitely a good choice. Like Mario could reach a 7-year-old and a 27-year-old, there's no age gap on that one or age limit on that one.
Right.
Mario's pretty
Curious.
universal.
Oh, sorry. I'm curious about how many beds you have available.
Available right now?
Yeah, I mean, on the unit, how many?
It really depends. I think right now or this morning we were at, I think we had 76 kids in, and that's getting close to our max right now. But Megan, it really depends upon acuity, how many in each age group, staff availability, things like that. So for instance, if we have 3 kids come in and they all require one-to-ones and they can't all require, like single rooms or something like that, that takes up 6 beds. If we have kids who come in who are highly acute and they require, they can still have a bedmate or a roommate, but they require more staff, then we have less staff to take less kids. And that can change, that changes daily. So a kid who may not be appropriate for our hospital today may be fine tomorrow. And that's really one of the difficult things to explain. And so part of my job is if let's say Kevin has crisis come out and evaluate the kid, and crisis calls us and says, hey, do you have a bed for this, 12-year-old girl, blah, 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 blah. Here's what's going on with her. Here's how it is. She's just this. We might say, no, we don't. But the next day we may. And that is part of my job, is to then reach out to Kevin or whoever referred and say, listen, it looks like we could get them in. Did you find placement, or what happened with that kid? Because it's possible we could get them back. We could get them in today.
Oh, so you actually can follow up after the initial.
Yeah. And in fact, my job, one of the things that I do on a daily basis, I follow up on every admission within 24 hours. Not on the weekends. I mean, come on. But I do Friday, stuff that comes in Friday, I'll follow up on Monday. And it's not unheard of that I've talked to people and worked with them on Saturdays or Sundays. It's not that big a deal. I'm not out doing the crisis. I'm still doing whatever I can. But I follow up on every admission, and then I also inquire the next day when I see something on a report, because we get a report at 6 a.m. So I might send out an email at 6:15 and say, like, hey, you referred this, and I don't share all the information, but you referred a 13-year-old male to us last night, and we declined because we didn't have the staff right now. Do you still need a placement for that? If they say, yes, we do, then I will talk to our staff and say, hey, they're still looking. Do we have space? And then I'll get back with them. So that's one of my daily chores.
I had another question, but I lost it.
I had to write mine down. Hey, I'm just kind of curious more than anything. So I know it kind of sounds like the kids are mostly in for about a week before being discharged, and sometimes it can be longer. But when it is longer, and you were talking about the homework and the schooling and keeping them in that mindset. Is the school able to give them their home? Because I mean, I feel like if
Yes.
I were to go through that crisis and then come out and then be slammed with 3 weeks worth of homework, that would be very overwhelming to the mental health and struggle to get back to a positive aspect.
Absolutely. And that is, I know this is not just us, but I know that's something we struggle with. We can't make the kids do the work. So they may say, hey, we're going to send you 2 weeks of work. And that stuff may or may not get done. It may not get returned. That's a process we're working on, but we always want the school to send us as much work as we can without overwhelming them. Again, that's not their focus. Their focus is getting better. And if you're sending them, 2 weeks worth of work, and they're looking at that, on their second day, it can can be a little bit jarring.
Yeah, that's it'd be very overwhelming, I would feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind
there's
of
a
like,
fine line there.
yeah, kind of like, I don't know, just you work so hard to get them back into a good headspace, and then they get out and it's like, oh yeah, you have 3 weeks of homework assignments due and 2 tests to make
Right.
up and 3 tests in this class to make up. And
Now, I would say that every school counselor, social worker, anyone who's involved in the aftercare of the child in the school has done everything absolutely possible to make allowances and make,
good.
you know, for these kids that are coming back.
Yes, that's
Um,
good.
they might have, you know, they might have missed 5 tests and maybe they get to bypass, you know, 3 of them or something like that. Or you know,
Okay.
these are the things you've got really got to do. But
Provides an accommodation then, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely.
And then my second one was, and it's not very Lincoln Prairie related. Sorry, got the intercom
That's all right.
going.
Most of what I talked about, I mean, is pretty common throughout all the facilities.
Is Locust Street not responsible for crisis anymore? I had heard through the grapevine that Acorn was doing some of the crisis management.
I don't know that Acorn is doing it. I know that Acorn is doing in-school counseling for Carnival Middle and High School. I know that there is 988 and there's mobile crisis response. Locust Street is covering crisis for most of the previous territory through
That's what I thought.
Centerstone out of Alton. Centerstone has the contract, and they contract with Locust Street.
Has it always been that way? Or is that just like recently?
That's just the last couple of years.
Okay. I was like curious. I was like, what do you mean you called Acorn and they, what do you mean? So, okay.
Yeah,
That
and
makes sense now.
There's you know, there are different programs too. You know, SAS is really, there is really no more SAS. There's Pathways to Success. And
Really?
just because a kid
Whoa, back us up. SAS is not, okay, help us understand.
Yeah.
okay. So the CARES line is still valid. Good call.
Okay.
Your local crisis people are still the place to call. Really not much has changed in that, but as far as aftercare, SAS used to be if you get placed in a hospital and or if you would call CARES would approve, they would call the local crisis person for you and get them sent out to you. They would do the evaluation of the kid. At that point, that kid's in SAS, right? No matter what. If CARES approves of them getting a crisis person sent to them, they're in SAS. That's not the way it works anymore necessarily. There are managed care, managed Medicaid instead of just one single Medicaid. So each one of those providers have different ideas of what is appropriate. It may be 40-day, it may be 90-day, it may be open-ended, it may be 6 years. I don't know. And then the age group has also gone up to age 20, where before it was 18. So there is SAS is really still there, but it's not called SAS anymore. Again, Pathways to Success is the aftercare stuff. Now, a kid could come into our hospital. They could, you know, stay with us for 7 to 10 days, and they could not necessarily be approved for Pathways. It's a whole different process. And I met with a Pathways provider in Springfield a couple weeks ago, and I still don't 100% understand. Again, it's only 2 years old, so this process,
well, and I'm sure insurance dictates a different way depending on each one, and
it's kind of messy. It used to be pretty cut and dry. You call this one number, this is what happens, kind of thing. And now, you know, mobile crisis response could respond to the kid. CARES might never get called, in which case they would never make it to us necessarily. If mobile crisis response doesn't feel like there's even a reason to have a kid placed anywhere, CARES may not be called. They might not get into Pathways. They may not do anything. So it really depends on the program coming in and how it happens. So
what about if SAS, so we used to be able to call SAS would come and do an assessment, but then if they didn't qualify they didn't feel like they qualified for hospitalization, they would get follow-up care. Is that still the case, or do you know the
Now,
answer to that?
when you say call SAS, what do you mean?
I mean, call the CARES line.
Care line.
Okay.
You've got a Medicaid eligible kid, you're concerned about their health, and
Okay.
they would send someone to do an assessment at the school.
Okay.
And I mean, they would, as far as I knew, you know, if they didn't qualify to be hospitalized, then they would have follow-up care outpatient.
Now, so that's the difference of the last couple of years. You call, if a call is made to CARES and CARES then accepts the call
Uh-huh.
and triggers the call to the crisis response agency, like in my case in Carlinville, for instance, it was call CARES accepts it, and then they call the Locust Street on-call number, and Locust Street sends somebody out. They do the evaluation, but at that point that they are accepted by CARES, they are in SAS, and SAS included aftercare in the community, at the schools, and all of that. Now, CARES may not be called on every crisis, depending on who responds to the crisis. And the areas have changed a little bit too. And I'm not 100% on all the areas, but I know, for instance, that
Digging if I feel like I got a
I know, for instance, that Centerstone out of Alton, for instance, handles almost all the stuff that Locust Street used to. And then Memorial Behavioral Health out of Springfield handles into Christian County and some of the other places that used to be handled by other people. It's changed a little bit, and the they kind of forced those agencies to say, hey, this is your area. You're going to take some of it. You got to take all of it. You can't just say, well, I'll take these 3 counties and these guys can take these. And so there are fewer SAS agencies out there now.
Okay.
And now I also will say, in my experience, and I'm not going to name names, but those routes of care are not fully realized yet. In other words, I know of some of my territory where they don't even bother calling crisis because they say nobody's going to come.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty extreme, but I get the feeling that's probably not just in one part of one of my counties. I'm sure it's statewide that there are some things where, when it was handled by these people and these people come in, they've got to take some time to try to establish these contacts and know the geography and which schools, and because some schools don't call at all. They don't want any of that in their school. They'll send the kid home, or they'll do different things, and that's their process. But again, it could be that mobile crisis response comes by and they don't see a need for CARES, and so that kid then will be handled by whatever outpatient facility or whatever is available. And there's lots of other things that affect, I think, aftercare as well. There's a lot of grants out there. There are a lot of school districts who have almost like peer support type people, and they have kind of non-clinical pre-counselor type aides and things like that. And we've seen there's actually been a decrease in calls and kids coming to our hospital, not just our hospital, not just statewide hospitals, but in the Midwest in general, in Indiana for sure, and Illinois and some of the others. There's been a decrease this year. And, initially in January, it was, we get a call and say, what do you guys, what's Chaz doing wrong? And we're not getting calls. Why aren't they calling us? Don't they want to come? Why aren't they want to come to our hospital anymore? But as the data is now shown, and I had one of my facilities run stats on CARES calls, and they had half the CARES calls this January than they did last January.
Why? Because
don't know.
My next question to you was going to be, I mean, I'm in a building with like 850 kids, and we've had 103 walkie crisis, not crisis like the hospital. We actually sent a fourth grader in an ambulance to Children's today. We're in St. Clair County, so but we have sent kids to your hospital. It just seems like what is going on. It's hard to pinpoint, you know,
Well,
because it's obviously a variety of things, but we have a lot of kids that it seems to me like we're throwing everything we can at them, but there's a chemical imbalance and we're not in control of that, right? Like they really need medication and therapy.
oh, yeah, I think there's no data to say why that for us there are less calls to us. And I mean, Kevin, I don't want to say anything that would cause, something to happen, but I know that certain school districts who in the past have not sent us kids have not sent us kids at all this year. And I really don't think it's because we messed up or we don't have room or whatever it is. I think that I feel like finally some of these programs are starting to become more effective. And then there's also the fact that I think there's a lot of pressure to deflect against hospitalization. So to give them supports, the family support program, whatever, to keep them out of the hospital. Unfortunately, are we at overtime?
No, I was just gonna say, we thankfully, and I'm knocking on wood, have had very few crisis situations that have approached that need this year.
I didn't want
But
to say anything.
in years, yeah, I say that now, but in years past, I mean, I had one year, we sent you, I think, 5 kids in the span of 8 school days. So it really just depends on the clientele. It depends, but yes, this has been an inordinately light year on that end, not necessarily on other ends, but yes, thankfully we have, and I do agree with you, Chaz. There is, I feel like, a lot of pressure to deflect. I feel like a lot of the SAS workers, if I've made multiple calls, then they're looking towards it rather than in years past. I would have thought first call, it would have been, okay, I think, it's time to go. So in any event, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. And like in Springfield, for instance, I talked with Memorial Behavioral Health a couple weeks ago. They've had more calls, but they've been less acute. So they have not even gotten to the point where there would be hospitalization would be even considered. But still to the point where somebody has to get involved. So Megan, if you have other questions or you want to chat, I'm always available. You can reach out to me and we can discuss. There's a lot with the system right now that's not, I don't think is working quite as intended, but it's also a lot of change. And that's kind of difficult to maneuver, especially when you're talking about, sometimes where you got a geographic area from one to the other that's 4 or 5 hours across. So. Anybody else?
Chaz, I didn't realize, was SAS Medicaid claims only?
Yeah. And now
that is
it's
like one of my
not.
biggest pet peeves.
Now it is not. It can be private insurance as well. I don't know. I don't remember all the details. I don't get involved
Maybe
in
you
that.
don't have your SAS lingo down in your back pocket still after all these years.
What's that?
You don't have all that SAS lingo in your back pocket after all these
Well,
years?
no, because it's changed, 20 times in the last 5 years since I've been out of it. So
Yeah, I can't believe it's already been so long since things have changed and we have moved on.
6 in September.
I did not realize that it was insurance driven as well. And that's one of my biggest complaint about some of these programs is that, they have to be considered an at-risk family and my higher income families aren't considered as at risk. And I'm like, their kids and their parents need just as much support as the next person, just because their living environment might be a tad better doesn't mean they're not, going through the same mental health struggles as any child would,
Right. That's all relative.
And then when they switched over to the managed care plans, that was a nightmare. So it became even worse, I feel like. So interesting though. I didn't realize that back in the day that
Yeah,
Which
it
makes
was
sense
always,
now
I mean,
that I'm thinking about it. I did have one private insurance client that came in through CARES, but she was not SAS.
yeah, and that happened where CARES would accept a kid who had Blue Cross, for instance, and at that point, they also are now Medicaid for at least 90 days. So they still got
Okay.
they still got the services.
Gosh. Yeah, insurance drives it all. I hate that.
Yeah, big business. I have spoken so much that everyone is, I think it's just you and me left here. I think everyone else has gotten off and said,
There we go.
Hey, sorry about that.
No,
No,
you're
it's
good.
You guys are absolutely fabulous. I so appreciate both of you. What?
Jackie asked if she could bring Colton up to Lincoln Prairie to scare some sense into him. Colton's one of her oldest foster kiddos.
I always love
Yeah.
that because I get that too, Jen. It's like, be good or you have to go see Mr. McNicholas. And I'm like, have to? What are you talking about?
unfortunately, some kids prefer to be at Lincoln Prairie than at home. I think
Go
that's the
see
worst.
Chaz at Lincoln Prairie. He'll get you straightened out.
Yeah, that's me.
I
Just ask my kid.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. I am going to stop our recording because we are good.
All right.